"Don't touch it like that," the man said, his voice sharper than he meant it to be. His hands were shaking as he grabbed the arm of the couch, fingers digging into fabric that smelled like dust, old tobacco, and time. The delivery guy froze, confused. It was just an old couch, sunken in the middle, armrest frayed, the kind of thing people left on sidewalks with a handwritten sign that said free. But the man standing in the doorway wasn't seeing furniture. He was seeing something else, something that made his knees feel weak, like the floor had quietly decided it might not hold him anymore. The couch shifted an inch as they tried to move it, and a faint sound came from inside. Not a rip, not a crack, a hollow thud, soft but unmistakable. "Did you hear that?" he asked. "Hear what?" The delivery guy said. The man swallowed. His grandfather's house was empty now. No pictures on the walls. No coffee cup by the sink. Just this couch. The only thing left to him. Worthless, everyone had said. Not even worth reupholstering. The man bent down slowly, pressing his palm against the cushion. The sound came again, deeper this time, like something knocking back. Before this story goes any further, take a second to subscribe, because stories like this deserve to be heard. He didn't know it yet, but whatever was hidden inside that couch was about to force him to confront the one truth his grandfather had carried silently to the grave, and the question of whether some legacies are measured not in what we're given, but in what we're brave enough to uncover. The will had been short, almost apologetic. "I don't have much," the lawyer had said, sliding the papers across the desk. "Just the house contents. And this." He tapped one line with his pen. "The couch." Evan stared at it, thinking it had to be a mistake. His grandfather, Henry Callahan, had lived in that same modest house for 42 years. Worked 2 jobs for most of them. Never complained. Never asked for help. And now, all Evan inherited was a beat-up couch that sagged in the middle, like it had given up trying to look presentable a long time ago. His sister laughed when he told her, not cruelly, but with that tired humor people use when life disappoints them in small, manageable ways. "Well," she said, "at least you'll have somewhere to sit." Everyone assumed Henry hadn't had much. He dressed plainly, drove an old truck, never talked about his past. If you asked him about his younger years, he'd smile, shrug, and change the subject. People took that as simplicity. Evan now wondered if it had been something else. When Evan walked back into the house after the funeral, the silence felt heavier than grief. He noticed details he'd never paid attention to before. The way the couch was positioned just right, angled toward the window. The way the cushion, on the left side, was more worn than the rest. The way Henry's handprints seemed permanently pressed into the armrests. The couch looked worthless, but Henry had kept it for decades, moved it from house to house, repaired it himself when it tore, refused to replace it. Evan sat down on it, feeling it sink beneath him, and for the first time, he wondered if that couch wasn't furniture at all, but a choice. Evan tried to ignore the unease crawling up his spine as he packed the house. Grief had a way of sharpening questions that had been dull for years. He found old tools neatly arranged, receipts folded with military precision, a faded American flag tucked into a drawer, the kind given to families at funerals. But there had been no mention of service in Henry's obituary. When Evan asked the funeral director about it, the man hesitated. He didn't want it mentioned, he said carefully. Some people don't. That answer didn't sit right. Henry had been quiet, not ashamed, disciplined, not distant. He woke up before dawn every day, volunteered anonymously, paid off neighbors' overdue bills without leaving his name. These weren't the habits of a man who had lived an unremarkable life. Evan returned to the couch again and again as he packed, running his hands along the seams. He noticed small imperfections, stitches that didn't match, patches that looked intentional rather than repaired. Once, when he pressed too hard, he heard that hollow sound again, deeper now, clearer. Logic told him it was nothing. Springs, old wood, age. But logic had never known Henry Callahan. That night, Evan dreamed of his grandfather sitting on the couch, hands folded, eyes steady. "Some things aren't meant to be comfortable," Henry said in the dream. "They're meant to hold." Evan woke up with his heart racing and his hands clenched into fists. The couch wasn't just coming with him because it was all he had inherited. It was coming because it refused to let him walk away. The delivery truck groaned as they lifted the couch, and Evan felt his chest tighten when it shifted again. That sound, it wasn't imagination anymore. "You sure you want this thing?" one of the movers asked. "It's pretty rough." "Yeah," Evan said, "I'm sure." The couch barely fit through the door of his apartment. Once inside, it looked even worse under modern lighting. The fabric was threadbare. The frame creaked. It clashed with everything. Evan stood there staring at it, feeling foolish. His sister's voice echoed in his head. "It's just a couch." But he couldn't shake the feeling that Henry had wanted this moment, had planned it, that the couch wasn't a leftover. It was a message. He sat down again, pressing deliberately this time. The sound came back. A muted knock, like a heartbeat trapped under layers of fabric and wood. Evan leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "What did you do, Grandpa?" he whispered. Henry had never told stories about war, never mentioned medals, never raised his voice. But he'd taught Evan how to stand up straight, how to shake hands firmly, how to finish what you start, even when no one is watching. The couch sagged beneath Evan's weight, as if carrying more than it had ever let on. By midnight, Evan couldn't stand it anymore. He grabbed a flashlight and knelt beside the couch, inspecting the underside. There were extra boards, added panels, reinforcements that didn't match the rest of the frame. Someone had built something into this couch, and whoever had known exactly what they were doing. Evan hesitated with the screwdriver in his hand. There was a strange fear in touching the couch now, not what he might find, but of what he might lose if he did. Mystery has a weight of its own. Once lifted, things are never the same. But Henry had never raised a man to turn away from difficult truths. The first screw came loose with a dry squeal, then another. As Evan carefully removed a narrow panel from the underside, the smell changed. Not old furniture anymore. Something metallic, something preserved. Inside was a sealed compartment. Evan's hands trembled as he opened it. Inside lay a thick envelope wrapped in oilcloth. Beneath it, several objects rested with deliberate care. A folded uniform patch, dog tags, a small, worn notebook, and beneath all of it a flag, meticulously folded. Evan sat back hard, his breath caught halfway between shock and disbelief. Henry had served, but that wasn't what made Evan's legs give way. It was a notebook. The first page wasn't dated. It wasn't dramatic. It simply read, "If you are reading this, then I couldn't carry it anymore." Evan pressed a notebook to his chest, tears blurring his vision. The couch creaked softly, as if exhaling. Whatever Henry had hidden here wasn't about pride. It was about survival. And Evan had just crossed the point of no return. The notebook was heavier than it looked. Not in weight, but in consequence. Evan sat on the floor with his back against the couch, flipping pages slowly, afraid to rush words that had waited decades to be read. Henry wrote plainly. No embellishment. No heroics. Just events. Places. Names. The early entries spoke of training, brotherhood, fear so sharp it felt like clarity. He never used the word war, only the work. As the pages went on, the tone changed. Missions went unnamed. Losses went uncounted. Henry wrote about choices, split-second decisions that saved some lives and cost others. He wrote about carrying men who didn't make it, about silence that followed. One entry stopped Evan cold. We were ordered to leave him. I didn't. Henry never explained the full context. He didn't have to. The consequences were written in the next lines. Court-martial avoided. Record sealed. Discharged quietly. No honors. No benefits. I would do it again. Evan felt something inside him shift. The couch wasn't hiding treasure. It was hiding truth. Truth that had cost Henry everything visible, while giving him something invisible and heavier. Henry hadn't been poor. He had been paying a debt. Evan closed the notebook slowly, realizing the couch wasn't a container. It was a confession. Evan didn't sleep that night. He paced, reread entries, sat in silence. The idea that his grandfather lived an entire second life, one built on sacrifice and restraint, made everything else feel small. The uniform patch belonged to a unit Evan recognized, but didn't fully understand. He researched quietly, carefully. What he found explained the absence of medals, the secrecy, the refusal to talk. Men like Henry didn't come home with parades. They came home with discipline and silence. Evan wondered how many times Henry had sat on that couch, replaying choices no one else would ever know he made. How many nights he'd press his palms into those same armrests, grounding himself in something ordinary so the extraordinary wouldn't consume him. The couch hadn't been kept out of comfort. It had been kept out of necessity. Evan realized then that inheritance wasn't always about value. Sometimes it was about responsibility. And the question that haunted him most wasn't why Henry had hidden this. It was why he'd finally decided not to. The next weeks changed Evan in subtle ways. He carried himself differently, spoke less, listened more. He started volunteering at a local veteran center, not telling anyone why, just showing up. One afternoon, an older man noticed a patch on Evan's keychain. "You family?" he asked. Evan hesitated. "I didn't know," he said, "but I am now." The man nodded. No more needed to be said. Evan began to understand that Henry's story wasn't meant to be shared loudly. It was meant to shape someone quietly. The couch stayed where it was. Evan didn't replace it, didn't reupholster it. Friends asked why he kept that ugly thing. He'd smile and say, "It holds more than it shows." And for the first time, he understood exactly what that meant. The turning point came when Evan received a letter. No return address, just his name, written in a hand he recognized instantly. Inside was a single line, "Thank you for carrying it now." Evan sat down hard, the couch catching him like it always had. His grandfather hadn't just left a secret. He'd left a continuation. Evan began reaching out, quietly, through proper channels. Respectfully, he shared only what needed to be known. The sealed record was reopened. Testimonies confirmed. Henry Callahan's actions were reevaluated. No parade, no headlines, but a letter arrived. Official, formal, honorable. Evan placed it inside the compartment beneath the couch, next to the notebook. Some things belonged together. At the Veteran Center, Evan met a young man struggling with guilt he couldn't name. Evan didn't preach, didn't advise. He listened. That night, Evan realized the couch had done its job. It had transferred weight. Years passed. The couch aged further. Evan did not. He married, had children, told them stories, not of war, but of character. He told them about a man who made hard choices when no one was watching. One day, his son asked, "Why don't we get a new couch?" Evan smiled, "Because this one reminds us who we are." When Evan eventually moved, the couch came too. Always. It was never about nostalgia. It was about memory with purpose. Near the end of his own life, Evan wrote a note, folded it carefully, placed it beneath the couch. Not to hide truth, but to honor it. Some inherit wealth, some inherit pain, some inherit silence. Evan inherited a couch, and inside it, he found the truth his grandfather carried, so no one else would have to. From which part of the country are you watching this story?